What's up, you guys? It's Layla Lynn, and I'm back with a new video. And in this video, we're talking about Jennifer Williams calling out Evelyn Lozado and saying Evelyn likes to come for Black women. She has a thing for coming for Black women. And it's just so hypocritical because Jennifer Williams, who is a Black woman, has been side by side with Evelyn in all Evelyn's beefs. Like, she's been the Robin to her Batman, the Shamia to her Portia. Like, she's been side by side with her in all of these beefs with Black women. But now that she's coming for Jennifer, well, really, she's coming for Jennifer's husband. But now that she's coming for the two of them, it's a race issue. She wants to say that Evelyn Lozado wants to come for Black women. So we're going to get into that in this video. And we're also going to get into the court documents, okay? DeKalb County court documents with the judge calling her husband a narcissist. Back in like 2015, before it was like trendy to call people narcissists, the judge called him a narcissist. And we're going to get into why in this video. But first, if you're watching, if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, I'm Layla Lynn. I do celebrity news and nostalgia. So go ahead and subscribe, click the thumbs up button, leave a comment, share this video on your social media, share it in your group chat, and do all of the YouTube things. All right, you guys. So I want to start with what Jennifer Williams said about Evelyn, because this is new. Jennifer bringing up race is new. Like I said, she's been side by side, Scully and Mulder with Evelyn all these years, with Evelyn coming for Black women. So this is new for Jennifer bringing up race.
It might be Evelyn really has something against Black women. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there because I feel like every season she is trying to go in on a Black woman. And that's just real.
Hey, Amani, can you go downstairs real quick and grab something for me? It's in a bag. No. We keep it real. We keep it transparent over here.
I live
downstairs in the media room. When you walk in,
you trying to bring a Black woman down. You trying to bring a Black man down. Like, cut it out.
So real quick, Armani's coming with the real receipt. Because I'm gonna give you one more chance. And I don't really care about comments like that. Of course, you guys see me on Instagram. You go through my page, like, I laugh at y'all's comments. Like, the negativity I laugh at. But there's one person on this live, you bringing a lot of negativity. I'm gonna give you a chance, but if you continue, I'm gonna.
It might be.
All right. So let's pause it right there. So like I said, this is new for Jennifer bringing up race because Evelyn Lozado has had beef with a lot of Black women. She placed herself in proximity to Black women when she decided to do Basketball Wives. And Jennifer Williams has been her sidekick. When she beefed with Tammy, she was her sidekick. When she beefed with Jackie, she was her side chick. When she beefed with Malaysia, she was her side chick. When she beefed with Royce, and when she beefed with OG. And OG called her out for the racism, colorism, all of that. Even when she beefed with Mika Claxton, Jennifer was side by side with her. When she beefed with Kenya Bell, who was a mixed race woman, but still of African descent, Jennifer was side by side with her, even when she beefed with Brandy. So Jennifer calling out race now kind of got my spidey senses going because this is new for Jennifer. This is new for Jennifer. And I noticed she mentioned race in a different video when she was talking about her, I'm gonna call him her husband. We're gonna get to the bottom of it in a different video, but she was saying something about his charges, like the DV charges, the false imprisonment charges from 10 years ago. And she said something about trying to bring a Black man down. And so when I looked up the court case, by the name of the person, the victim in his DV court case seems to be white. Just judging by her name alone, and I don't want to share her name, even though it is public. I don't want to share her name, but her name might as well be White Girl because her first name is very much associated with white people, and her last name is very much associated with white people. I'm not sure if it's like a Jewish last name, but it's very common in the white community, her last name. And so when she made those comments months ago, like trying to bring a Black man down, it just seems like she's getting this race talk from her husband, and it doesn't seem applicable in this situation. And that's not to say that the legal system is not harder on Black men, because it is. But I don't think we should dismiss the victim in his DV case because she's white or allegedly white. I don't think we should dismiss that. And so I want to get into the court documents and what the judge had to say. Let's talk about what the judge had to say. All right, you guys. So I am going to share these court documents with you. I cannot make them larger, so I'm going to share them with you. Okay, this is the sentencing. So he's already been found guilty of false imprisonment. If you're not familiar with the case, was charged with DV and false imprisonment. The DV part of the case, he was found not guilty, even though there were other phone calls from 911 and even witness testimony from the neighbors. He was still found not guilty of the DV in this case because the injuries she sustained were actually from her jumping out the window. The woman in the case jumped out the window to get away from him because she felt it was safer to jump from either a second or third story building and break her back than to stay in that apartment with him. So for this particular case, her injuries were from her jumping out the window. And I think that's why he was found not guilty with the DV. But in any case, this is what he said to the judge. This is just the end of it. And then we'll get into what the judge said to him. He said, I've been in custody for 21 days now. And besides not taking the plea deal for 10 to do 2 a day before I was sentenced, I watched my niece being born. And that's the only reason I asked for a continuation, time to turn myself in. It was a very humbling experience. Besides the 21 days of me being in custody in DeKalb County, I've practiced alchemy. Alchemy, and that is getting to know thyself. I've really gotten to know myself. I've humbled myself. This is his defense when he's being sentenced, that he practiced alchemy. And he said, and being in jail for 21 days simply just made me realize how precious freedom is. I thank God simply every single morning for just taking the next breath, for being able to think about how it is on the outside, to be able to get out of bed and just walk to a door and twist the lock and open it myself. And so the judge says, so you are now in prison the way the victim was. You feel the way she felt. Because again, the charge he was found guilty on was false imprisonment because he wouldn't let her out of the apartment. She wanted to call 911. She wanted to leave the apartment when they were in some type of dispute. And when he wouldn't let her, she jumped out the window. So he's talking about freedom and everything like that. And the judge is like, yeah, that's what your victim felt. Now you know what she felt like. And so he said, yes. And so the judge said on those occasions, and then he interrupted the judge and said, I take total responsibility. And the judge said, yes. And it wasn't the first time, Mr. Walden, because his last name is Walden, not Gold. I know he's trying to change it, but it's Walden. And he said, yes, ma'am. And let's go to the next page. So the judge says the neighbors saw her being dragged back into the apartment, and it wasn't the first time they seen that. It wasn't the first time. And so he says, yes, ma'am, I truly understand that. So when they talk about DV and things like that, yes, there was a not guilty verdict, but I'm showing you guys in black and white. Y'all can see the Times New Roman. You can see in black and white that when the judge says it wasn't the first time you committed DV, he says, yes, ma'am, I truly understand that. So the judge says, I don't want to interrupt you, Mr. Walden, but this incident happened, I think, approximately a year before your trial, a year, 15 months. And many times in a case of this nature, when the defendants come back into court, I say to the DA, well, they've already rehabilitated themselves. Your sentence really it's not something that I can, follow at this point because that person has already, gone to drunk driving classes. They've already voluntarily gone out and done some community service someplace. They've already paid restitution to the victim. They've already entered into counseling sessions. They've already completed some type of DV program. And that's normally the case. Even when we talk about Karen Huger in her case, like before she was sentenced, like she tried to do all these type of programs. Most people try to do all these type of programs to lower their sentence. And the judge was flabbergasted that he didn't. And she said, and that tells me a lot because for 15 months in my mind, in the judge's mind, you're actually on probation waiting to come to trial. Not in the technical sense, but in a philosophical sense. So he's bringing up philosophy and alchemy and all those type of things. So the judge had something for him. She had some philosophy for him too. And she said, and probation is derived from the Latin, and what it means is to prove oneself. And I do look at that to see what a person has done. And she said, and everybody has beautiful words to say to the judge after they've been convicted. But what is most important to a judge to show me that you really mean it and that you really want to change is what you have done in the 15 months before you are convicted by a jury. And in these type of cases where individuals are fortunate enough to be out on bond, believe me, they have done so many good things. Okay. Their defense attorneys will come in with a notebook for me to show me, judge, he signed up with this, he's gotten through, he had a drug treatment program, he's already completed that. And you haven't done anything. That's what the judge said. You haven't done anything. And because I don't personally know you, the only way I can judge your character is by your actions. So he says, yes, ma'am. And the judge says, so while I appreciate what you're saying today, you have been on probation for the 15 months before your conviction, and you didn't take any responsibility other than uttering the words, I'm sorry. None of her medical bills have been paid. Her mother had to give up her job, is my understanding, to come and be her full-time caregiver based on her injuries. You don't just jump out the window of the second or third story building and not have severe injuries. The woman had like a rod in her back and all these type of things. So the judge said, you had an opportunity to come in front of me and your defense attorneys to give me your notebook. I have no notebook for you. You haven't even taken the initiative to take DV intervention classes or anger management classes or an effort to pay restitution. You haven't done anything. Now, at this point in time, I know the restitution allegedly has changed, but from the documents I saw, the restitution was $12,500, not $2.5 million that he said on the show. But in any case, the judge said, you have not paid it at this point. And he says, I have taken the step to take a man stopping violence class. And so him and the judge go back and forth because he's saying he took the class actually in the same building as the courtroom. He keeps saying, I took the class downstairs, but they didn't give me a certificate. And the judge has a hard time believing that if he completed the course, that he wouldn't have a certificate. And so he actually asked the judge to get the certificate. He had the nerve to ask the judge to go get the certificate. And so the judge says, I'm not your attorney. And I trust Mr. Mack and Mr. Henderson that if it existed, they would have it to show me today because they're two of the attorneys I mentioned who handle a lot of the hearings where the defendants claim they've done community service, have completed drug treatment, and they're capable of getting those documents. Like those particular attorneys, they're court appointed and they always show the documents. She said, it's improper for me to get off the bench and go and call someone and investigate your case on your behalf. I'm not allowed to do that. So he says, I understand. And so then they have a brief conversation about restitution. The judge is saying that he hasn't paid restitution. He's saying that he's given the victim money here and there. And then they have a conversation about narcissism. Way before it was trendy on social media to call someone a narcissist, the judge calls him a narcissist back in 2015. Back in 2015. The judge says to him, you're a convicted felon. Because at this point, he's been convicted of false imprisonment. And he says, I'm not a criminal. And the judge says again, you are a convicted felon, like you are a criminal. And she says, I know everyone thinks that crimes are only people who harm children, assault women, red run people, but DV is right up there in that category. A man who harms a woman the way you harmed the victim, and for you to stand here today and basically say you have not committed a crime, I know you need help. That's what the judge said to him. I know you need help. And she said, and I'm not. And I have the utmost respect for your family. And I do believe everything everyone said. I have no doubt they're very good people and they've done everything they can do to raise you to be the kind of man that you should be. But there is something missing, Mr. Walden, for you to think that you can do repeatedly what you did to this young woman. And again, she's saying repeatedly based on the neighbor's witness testimony. And she says, even before you came to court, I think the DA said this is actually the third time the police have been Twice the police have been to your house. The first time she didn't call the police. And I think that's when the neighbors called the police. She said, you should have gotten help after the first time. Your family, if they were aware of it, should have gotten you help because you have some deep psychological issues as to why you feel this is okay. And that's not disrespect to your family. She said, I'm just indicating that there are some deep issues here that you've not made you can't accept it. I don't know if it's, and I'm not a psychologist, but it appears to me there's something called narcissism. And narcissism doesn't mean that you think you're the best looking person in the world. That's what people think. But I think, just based on what happened and your lack of responsibility today, these are hollow words after your conviction. It's the first time I've ever heard your voice, and you have the right to not speak during the trial. But we had several pre-trials on this case. You were arrogant, you never took responsibility, and you have difficulty accepting your actions. And those are all the traits of narcissism. So again, 10 years ago, before this was trendy on social media, the judge called him a narcissist and says that he's arrogant, never takes responsibility, and has difficulty accepting his actions. And it's my opinion that he's probably the same way today. In any case, the judge goes on to say, and like I said, I'm not a psychologist. I can't tell you why men do that, have difficulty wrapping their brain around the fact that this is not normal. And then she goes into another court case where people normalize harming each other. They normalize harming each other, and she's saying that it's not normal. So it's just my opinion as far as Evelyn coming for this man and saying Jennifer is making a bad decision. I just don't think it has to do with the race. I know Evelyn does have her race issues. I've covered them extensively on this channel as far as misogynoir when it's specifically about Black women. I do agree that Evelyn does have her issues, but it's also my opinion. As an audience member, I've seen Jennifer Williams stand shoulder to shoulder with her while she came for Black women. So I don't think she's coming for Jennifer or Christian regarding Jennifer being a Black woman. I think it has to do with Christian's character. The same thing the judge said about his character. It was her opinion that he's a narcissist and he has trouble accepting responsibility for his actions. So y'all leave a comment. Let me know what y'all think. What do y'all think about the judge calling him a narcissist 10 years ago? Do you think he's changed? Do you think he's changed based on the public information about him? And what do you think about Jennifer after all these years and her being side by side with Evelyn as Evelyn came for Black women? What do you think about Jennifer now calling out Evelyn and saying that she just wants to come for a Black woman? Leave a comment. Let me know what y'all think about that. As always, thanks for watching. Now, if you made it this far to the end of the video, then I think you like my content. So make sure you subscribe and check out my channel. I have over 1,000 videos on my channel. Check out my playlists and my podcast, and I assure you, you will like more of my content.